Right. I was looking up. Spencer Petras threw for 269 yards against Maryland. Now, a lot of that did come off, maybe with shorter fields and perhaps Maryland kind of throwing in. So I want to say throwing in the towel, or just after they got down by a couple scores, they seemed to have a snowball effect, and maybe they weren't as playing with as much passion defensively as maybe they were in the beginning of the game. So I remember when they went up, went up 7-3 early. They looked pretty crisp on that scoring drive, and I'm thinking, oh boy, Iowa might be in some trouble here. But then, they drove downfield, scored a touchdown, and then I believe that ensuing kickoff is when Dante Demas fumbled, and then also had a nasty, turning of his foot. I mean, I don't know what his status is now, if he's done for the year or whatever. But that fumble was like right at the 10 inside the red zone. That set up an Iowa touchdown. Then I believe next drive, the Talia Tagovailoa throws a pick.
Very next play,
yeah, very next play. Iowa executes a tip drill to perfection, and they turn that interception turns into short field touchdown drive. And it was just, I think after that, those were just absolute backbreakers for Maryland. It went suddenly from being, 10-7 and still very much a game to, Iowa's now looking to just dominate and, quiet this blackout crowd at Maryland. And, the lesson I think for Maryland is no more Friday night games against ranked opponents. It has not quite worked out well for them these last couple times they've tried it. But, again, I think it goes back to just saying, if Penn State, I feel like if they can get the kind of pass protection they got against Auburn, I feel like Cliff will not throw multiple interceptions like Talia Tagovailoa did, and do a better job of taking care of the ball. 6, yeah, he won't be throwing 6 picks. Like I said, I'm hopeful he keeps it to 1 or fewer, and that's and again, it's going to come down to pass pro and and just make Cliff and his receivers just being in sync. They seemed a little bit out of sync at times tonight, and had a couple uncharacteristic drops. I do remember Parker Washington dropping what looked like a nice catch for a first down, or I think if it was close to the marker and he would have turned, caught it, and would have had some real estate in front of him. So
he dropped a couple tonight.
There were a couple, yeah. It's very uncharacteristic of him, and he's going to need to step up next week against Iowa. Like I said, if they do indeed somehow try to zero in on shutting down Jahan Dotson, then it's going to open up opportunities for guys like Parker and Kendra Smith and the tight ends. So, I guess it all like we've been. I think we've repeated this about 50 bajillion times now already on the show, but it's really going to come down to just taking care of the football. If you don't turn it over, if you're able to get some big plays, especially out of your passing game, I'm not expecting much out of the ground game because Iowa's built to shut those down. But I feel like they're ripe to be, picked on through the air if you've got athletic enough receivers, which Penn State does. So it's going to come down to that. And, if they're turning it over, especially if they're doing it in their own territory, all bets are off, because that's how Iowa's been thriving this year. But you have to figure that turnover, they're not going to have that kind of insane turnover differential all season long. Like at some point, they're only going to get 1 or 2 in a game, and they're going to have to rely on the offense being able to consistently march downfield and put up points. And we're not sure if they're capable of that or not. Maybe they are, but they haven't shown it yet. So I feel that that's the key. You just gotta make sure that you're not making it easier for them to. You're not giving them like 30 to 40 yards to reach the end zone, as opposed to giving them 70 to 80. So
that's Yeah, that's 100%. So Iowa's defense, right, is going to make teams basically the playbook Indiana played tonight is how Iowa plays defense all the time, right? They're going to force you to drive the field. They're not going to give up the big plays. Um, and they're going to wait patiently until you make a mistake and hopefully capitalize. And they've been very successful at capitalizing when teams make those mistakes. Now, as you said, they've been, um, I don't want to say unrealistically, but I will say unrealistically, they've been unrealistically effective at forcing teams to make mistakes, right? Yes, Tulia throwing 6 picks in a game is probably the outlier. But let's not forget that Indiana and Michael Penix threw 2 pick sixes and had another interception that didn't go for a pick six. But those just those three, and we're not even counting the fumbles, right? Like those three contributed 21 points to Iowa's scoring output in that game. And they did the same thing against Iowa State. And at some point, right? At some point, if you keep doing the same thing, that's attributed to you. But statistically speaking, there there will come a time where Iowa isn't gonna get this 3 to 4 turnovers in the opposing team's side of the field to basically get 3 points. And at that, if Penn State is able to be that team that prevents Iowa from effectively scoring 3 points, and they become the kind of defense in this game that effectively mirrors what Iowa does, which is force Iowa's offense to actually drive the whole field and wait for them to make the mistakes. Obviously, I don't think Mike Yurcich is going to sit there and just wait for Iowa to make a mistake. Penn State's going to try to be aggressive from the get-go. But if the game turns into the rock fight everyone thinks it's going to be, then force Iowa to drive the field just like they're going to try to force Penn State to do so. And hopefully that will bear the way the statistics have played out so far will bear it in this game. And Iowa's offense, if they have to drive the field consistently, it'll prove that they may have trouble doing so.